Carlene, I think while we're still waiting for Jessie Pierre. She's going to be here very soon to talk more about reaction in Statesville to the death of Greg Biffle and his family. We're also, though, awaiting President Donald Trump, expected to get here in Rocky Mount in North Carolina this evening to support Michael Whatley in his Senate campaign, but also to tout his economic policies. So we're going to get to the Democratic response to that, which we saw just a couple hours ago today.
Good morning, North Carolina.
Good morning.
My name is Dorian Palmer, and I serve as the Coalitions and Community Engagement Director for the North Carolina Democratic Party. Here's what we know. We know that Eastern North Carolina was a Democratic stronghold for 120 years in our state. And we know Donald Trump knows that, and we know Michael Whatley knows that. We know that as we go into next year, fighting for Eastern North Carolina, fighting for folks across our state is going to be critical. And that's something Roy Cooper has shown he's been able to do since 1986 when he's led this state. Folks, the work we have to do is to show up for communities, to fight for them, and remind folks that Donald Trump does not speak for Eastern North Carolina or for this state, and neither does D.C. insider lobbyist Michael Whatley. Folks, what we know going into today is they're going to say things about Governor Cooper that's not true. What we know is they're going to say things that the folks across North Carolina know to be untrue, as they voted for Roy Cooper every election in North Carolina since 1986. We know that. We know they're going to say things that are divisive, untrue, and harmful, and we know Donald Trump is not fighting for the people of North Carolina. Folks, we saw just the other day that Donald Trump continues to say things that cause harm and division, and we need a person in our U.S. Senate who will provide loyalty and growth and continuity of care and services, and that's why, folks, we're excited to vote for Roy Cooper, and why Michael Whatley will cause harm and is not good for the folks of our state. Folks, I want to introduce you now to Chair Anderson Clayton of the North Carolina Democratic Party. We're excited to have her. Thank y'all so much for being here this morning.
Dorian is from rural western North Carolina, but has been all over eastern North Carolina with the state party as we have traveled throughout the state over the last 3 years, making the case and also trying to rebuild our party in places of the state that oftentimes have been forgotten even by the people that currently represent it. But good morning, and thank y'all for being here today. I deeply appreciate it. Donald Trump is coming to North Carolina tonight to lie and say that costs and the economy are great right now. And if you're somebody who's just had to go to a grocery store recently, you know that's not true. Costs aren't down, and Trump and D.C. Republicans are making life less affordable than ever, especially for people here in North Carolina and especially people in eastern North Carolina. North Carolina families are facing skyrocketing costs because Republicans have created a health care crisis and refused to fix it. They've gutted Medicaid. They put 5 rural hospitals in North Carolina at risk of closing already. They continue to refuse to extend the ACA tax credits, which means that on January 1st, every single person across North Carolina is going to see their health insurance costs skyrocket. We couldn't understand a North Carolina that doesn't prioritize health care and education in it, especially after yesterday when we just saw a North Carolina legend unfortunately pass away. Governor Jim Hunt was a legacy in North Carolina, somebody that stood up for the fact that no matter what your zip code is, you deserve to have the opportunity and the access to health care and to education. And what we've seen from Republicans in North Carolina and from a Donald Trump administration is an administration that's willing to destroy and demise the social safety net that has kept so many people across North Carolina not only in this state, but able to thrive in this state. In 2026, we're going to elect a U.S. Senator. And who we choose to elect could be the difference between affordable health care or medical debt, between cheaper groceries or going hungry, and between a champion who will fight for North Carolina or for a D.C. insider that's handpicked by Republicans who's also going to face a primary himself, because even the grassroots know that Donald Trump handpicked Michael Whatley for this seat. And you might have heard of that DC insider. He's pushing the same agenda that is hurting North Carolina families across this state. Michael Whatley supports gutting Medicaid for hundreds of thousands of North Carolinians, calling it a huge win, saying that he would have voted for it in a heartbeat if he had been our U.S. Senator. And we know that right now, Tom Tillis, the reason why he's not running for re-election is because he was faced with that hard choice of having to say 600,000 people across North Carolina immediately deserve to have that health care access revoked that Governor Cooper fought so hard to get in a bipartisan deal, right, for decades across this state. Whatley has called for the repeal of the ACA, and now he supports the Republicans refusing to extend the ACA tax credits in D.C., making health care less affordable for people across this state. And tonight, Michael Whatley is welcoming those same D.C. politicians that people across North Carolina, to me, seem pretty fed up from, inviting them back to our state with open arms, rubbing it in the face of families who can no longer afford their health care or having to look at their children who rely on Medicare right now and Medicaid right now and asking them what they're going to do. And Whatley wants us to elect him to the United States Senate. Thank you, North Carolina. If we know one thing, it's that Whatley will always side with D.C. politicians to hurt working families and make life more expensive. And after all, that's what he spent his entire career doing. Whatley is a lifelong D.C. political hack, a big oil lobbyist who has spent his career putting billionaires and special interests ahead of families across the United States, not just in North Carolina. We deserve leaders who will lower health care costs and make it easier for North Carolina families to get ahead. Governor Cooper has spent his life delivering for working families, and as governor, he made it his mission to expand Medicaid to the nearly 700,000 North Carolinians who are at risk of still losing their health insurance. And at a time when we're in the middle of a health care crisis, when families can't afford coverage, we need leaders like Roy Cooper in the U.S. Senate, right? Right. Look, no matter what Donald Trump says tonight, remember that he and Michael Whatley are attacking our health care, making it unaffordable, and Whatley will continue to champion that agenda in the United States Senate. And that's why we're going to reject Michael Whatley next November. And I need everybody who's watching this, who's angry about an administration and what they've done, to step up in your backyard today. Candidate filing ends today in North Carolina at 12 p.m., and we're excited to make sure that we're contesting every single seat humanly possible to ensure that we're holding Republicans accountable in North Carolina, even under gerrymandered maps that they've given to us so far. We're not going to leave a stone unturned this year, and we need your help in making sure that these candidates have the resources and the boots on the ground across North Carolina. So I hope you'll get involved today. But thank you for being here. Do I have any questions from my press?
Yes. How important is this question?
So that was the Democratic reaction from earlier today as we await President Donald Trump's visit to Rocky Mount. He's expected to support Michael Whatley in his campaign for U.S. Senate to represent North Carolina. He's also expected to tout his economic policies, which he's been doing over the last couple of days. First, we're actually expecting an announcement from drug prices from him. And so multiple things happening today from the White House, specifically impacting here in North Carolina. So we're going to keep you updated on that when we learn more.